The old Wolfgang's dry goods building is gone. My earliest memory of the old Wolfgang's dry goods building on 30th Street is a blurry mess of primary colors and flashing lights, metallic clangs, and the sticky sweet smell of stale popcorn and spilled soda. It was occupied by a Wham arcade then, in 1992, when I was 6. My brother liked the arcade a lot more than I did. I was a nervous kid, and I much preferred playing Super Mario Bros. On my Game Boy, alone in my room, to the loud rows of flashy machines with joysticks I could never grasp right. I remember a little boy with the curly red hair asked me to play. I'd seen him at Wham before. He was a strange, quiet kid with eyes that never seemed to focus right. My brother told me the boy was the son of the arcade's owner, a surly, pudgy, perennially sweaty man who sat behind the prize counter, glaring. I agreed to play Mortal Kombat with the boy. He led me to the console and popped in a quarter. We picked our characters. My heart began to race and my sweaty hands slipped and slid on the buttons. And I think I lasted 30 seconds before the game growled, "Fatality!" "Ha ha, you suck," howled my brother, from the Alpha Magician machine. I hung my head in shame. The little boy with curly red hair smiled kindly, though. He extended a hand. "Good game," he said. Then he froze in place, like a grinning statue. I realized he expected me to reciprocate. "Good game," I responded. My next memory of the old Wolfgang's dry goods building occurred 5 years later. Not long after the red-headed boy handed me my ass at Mortal Kombat, Wham Arcade went under. A boutique selling willowy, flowery women's clothes opened in the space. Less than a year later, the storefront had been abandoned. Eventually, a used music shop took over the empty space. Chip and scratches, CDs, and records. There were dusty old albums displayed in the windows, and an infrequent flow of scruffy, greasy-haired men in pea coats in and out the doors. My karate dojo was down the street. Costas, a 13-year-old brown belt, loved terrifying us younger kids with scary stories he'd lift from short and shivery and try and pass off as true. "This one's real, though," he insisted that day. "Cross my heart and hope to die. It happened to my Sunday school buddy's cousin's friend from soccer. You know the record store across the street? Chip and Scratch? It's haunted." A green belt snorted. "You still believe in ghosts, Costas? That's sad." "That's sensei to you, Carrero. The building was built in like 1900 by a guy named Wolfgang Stout. He had a store and sold random crap. Wolfgang's Dry Goods. But later on, during Prohibition, his real business was a speakeasy. That means he sold illegal alcohol." "We know what a speakeasy is, Costas," said another boy. "It's sensei. And yeah, he sold illegal alcohol in the basement of Wolfgang's Dry Goods. There was a secret door to go down there. You couldn't get in without the password. And everybody used to say that old Wolfgang Stout didn't just keep liquor in the basement. It's where he buried the bodies of gangsters who pissed him off." Costas paused for effect. I breathed deeply, in and out, trying to slow my racing heart. I didn't like horror stories. "My buddy's cousin's soccer friend was a dude named Kevin. Before the record store opened, when the building was empty, he and a group of guys broke in because one of their brothers dared them to. The other guys said it wasn't even scary. But Kevin got weird after. Once, he asked my brother's cousin if he knew the man with suspenders and a hat following them. But there was no man there." I wiped my sweaty hands on my karate pants. I wanted to escape to the bathroom, but I didn't want the guys to think I was a pussy. "He'd talk to people no one could see," Costas continued. "Ghosts, or he'd run out of class randomly screaming about a man with a gun. He told my buddy's cousin he woke up in the middle of the night and there was someone on his chest trying to strangle him. They wanted him to go back, he said. Back to the abandoned Wolfgang's Dry Goods building, to the basement. Finally, he gave in and went. And..." Costas paused again. I twitched. I wanted to cry. "And then, he died," he announced dramatically. "Kevin died. He dropped dead in the middle of a soccer game, and my buddy's cousin ran to him. Kevin's last words, before his eyes closed forever, were, 'Please, don't let the man with the hat take me.'" I slept with the lights on for a month. My third memory of the old Wolfgang's Dry Goods building takes place rather recently. The storefront had been abandoned again, for a while, since the owner/operator of Gino's Gyros was sent on a trip upriver, courtesy of the feds, for insurance fraud. I found the front door unlocked, as the property manager assured it would be. My mission: scout a location for Tomato Tart, the second Neapolitan-style pizza joint by chef and Instagram influencer Kylie J. Kylie was a friend from culinary school. She already ran one phenomenally successful restaurant in the city and was ready to open her second, with me as the sous chef. The old Wolfgang's dry good building was, actually, it was quite nice. It had an Art Deco feel, checkered tile floor, ornate geometric designs cut into the wood of the bar, combined with that of an Irish pub. We needed to do some remodeling, put in a pizza oven, but the kitchen was spacious and already equipped with a large walk-in fridge and freezer. Between the fridge and freezer, there was a door. A narrow wooden door, cut into the white plaster walls of the kitchen, with a green-tinged metallic knob and fancy carved patterns to match the Art Deco bar outside. There was a brass-colored placard at eye level, with a calligraphic word carved into it. Password. Password. With a whoosh of consciousness, I was 11 years old and in my karate dojo, listening to Costa spinning a bullshit tale of his friend of a friend kicking the bucket on the soccer field, pursued by invisible 20s gangsters. I breathed in the faintest whiff of stale popcorn and sticky spilled soda. I suddenly wanted to be as far away from the abandoned restaurant as I could get. Then, I remembered, I was a nearly 40-year-old man, not an anxious kid. I took some pictures for Kylie, then shut off the lights and locked the door behind me. Fitting, I thought. I'm back at the scene of my humiliating Mortal Kombat loss, the site of my biting childhood failure. The last few years of my life, I'd marinated in failure. I started west, towards the subway overpass. Well, maybe it was all a sign my days of failure were over. As soon as we nailed down a location, I'd be Kylie J's right-hand man. The train rumbled into the station overhead. "You're gonna tank this restaurant like you tanked yours, John," a sharp voice snapped, right behind me. I whirled around. There was no one there. As it turned out, Costas was full of shit. After sending the pictures to Kylie, I curled up at a Yemeni coffee shop with my laptop and an iced Adonai chai. My return to the old Wolfgang's dry goods building had inspired me to fact-check Costas' dumb karate class story. A 7th grader dropping dead during a soccer game would be a rare enough occurrence to make the news. I skimmed old archives, Googled keywords, and posted the story on the local subreddit. Old newspapers and obituaries gave me nothing. No hallucinating little soccer player named Kevin tragically struck down on the field. On Reddit, though, a user Build-A-Bay posted a letter to the editor published in her hometown Connecticut paper from 1993. She kept it because she thought it was funny. Always know where your kids are. My sister-in-law, a psychiatric nurse in New York City, recently related me to the tragic tale of a 16-year-old girl, Rebecca. Young Rebecca, like many young people, fell in with the wrong crowd at school. Her new friends' lives were consumed with drugs, Dungeons and Dragons, and heavy metal music. And soon, so was Rebecca's. On Halloween, this clique of young people broke into an abandoned store. They did drugs, then performed a ritual with a Ouija board. Harmless fun, Rebecca's friends insisted. But only days later, Rebecca became convinced something was constantly behind her. She asked her mother if she saw the man with thousands of eyes. She described a creature with goat horns and hooves, who stared back at her from inside the mirror. Then, one night, Rebecca ate dinner with her mother. She stood abruptly, and face twisted in fear, whispered, "The goat man wants me to come with him." Then she collapsed. The paramedics couldn't revive her. She died of a sudden heart attack. Aside from a few details, this supposedly true story was a carbon copy of the one Costas told in karate class, years later. He must have heard it somewhere and adapted it to take place in our little corner of the city. Not only was Costas a liar, he couldn't even come up with his own material. Another Redditor chimed in. User Weaponized Blonde 7171 recalled another version of the same tale, presented to her as something that really happened to a brother's co-worker in a faraway city, by her high school sex ed teacher. She said this guy broke into a comic book store to have unprotected sex with his girlfriend, Weaponized Blonde 7171 wrote, and he got syphilis. The syphilis made him go crazy, like he hallucinated all the time. He'd asked if anyone else saw the big blue tiger. He thought a monkey was following him around. Finally, he broke into the same comic book store again because deep in his psychosis, he thought it would cure him. And he actually got better. Then he relapsed and died. Y'all, this story made me a virgin until college. I realized then, the horror story that scared 11-year-old me senseless was an urban legend. Typically, multiple versions of an urban legend exist. The basic structure is the same, with enough wiggle room for the teller to improvise the details, based on their own or their culture's experiences and fears. Costas' mistake? He made his story too local. The power of urban legends is that they always happen in an unspecified faraway place. Costas' utilization of the old Wolfgang's dry goods building made his tall tale all too easy to fact-check. "Hey John, the restaurant will burn, and you'll drag her down with you." The same sharp, harsh voice in my ear. I sprung to my feet and did a 360. I was alone, save for the bored-looking girl behind the counter, completely involved in her phone. Something moved in the corner of my eye. A black cockroach, ducking back into a hole in the wooden baseboards. I took that as a sign it was time to pack my things and go home. As I walked out the door, I could have sworn I caught the scent of popcorn and sugary cornstarch. I trembled. My meeting with my old friend Leona didn't put me in a better mood. 2 weeks had passed since I set foot back at the old Wolfgang's dry goods building. Kylie said she liked the pictures. She wasn't sold, though. The place was too close to the noisy train tracks. If it were any other location, I'd have been frustrated to the point of blind fury. The rent was considerably cheaper than we had any right to expect, anywhere in the city. That particular location, though? I'd be lying if I said it didn't give me the heebs. I'd heard the scratchy, disembodied voice 3 more times. The first time I was at work at TGI Fridays, alone in the break room, guzzling a Red Bull before returning to the line. "You're a fat old loser," the voice hissed in my ear. "Nearly 40 years old, John, and this is all you have to show for yourself?" On the floor, under the lockers, 2 cockroaches scurried around each other and into a discarded ramen cup. I tossed my drink and ran. The second time I was at the park with my kids. Theo bonded with Beagle in the dog run, while Cassidy flew higher and higher on the swings. "It's your fault you lost the house. When they learn that, they'll never forgive you." Panic seized up in my chest. Was I schizophrenic? Experiencing a side effect of alcohol withdrawal related to my 38-day-old abstinence from this stuff? I made a mental note to call my GP on Monday. I gathered the kids and told them it was time to leave, bribing them with the promise of gelato. The third time was later that same day. I'd just gotten off the train, having completed the last leg of the epic trip to return my kids to their mother in the suburbs. As I walked back to the 1-bedroom apartment I sublet, I passed by a lively dive bar. Unpretentious, the sort of place where weekend warriors played lousy pool and sung tone-deaf karaoke. "You should go in," the voice taunted. "Everyone knows this bullshit AA thing isn't going to last." I whirled around, fists clenched. My invisible friend could scare me in the break room all it wanted, but if it thought it could screw with my sobriety, it had another thing coming. But, as I'd come to expect, I was alone on the street. Alone, except for a dark horde of cockroaches in the gutter, crawling around a discarded kebab sandwich. "Have you noticed more roaches out lately?" I asked Leona. "It's January. They're supposed to stay in their hidey holes until June." Leona shrugged. "Not really." Leona Burrell agreed to meet me at a Starbucks by my apartment. We've been friends for years, ever since our days at Le Petit Rose French Bistro. Her, the night supervisor. Me, the twitchy new line cook. When Kylie finally settled on a location for Tomato Tart, I intended to hire Leona on as the general manager. "That location, the one you told me about?" Leona said. "I know it. I don't want to work there again." "The old Wolfgang's dry goods building? You worked there before?" She nodded. "Yeah, back in 2004. Toddy's Beantown? It was a coffee shop with a kind of central perk from a friend's vibe. I worked as a barista there for a few years in my 20s until it went out of business. It was fine, but one of my coworkers got a stalker." Something cold settled on my skin at the word stalker. "Like an ex-boyfriend?" I asked Leona. "Boyfriend is stretching it," Leona said. "He was a customer, this harmless-looking dude. They went on one date. She didn't feel a spark. He started popping up everywhere. Her college campus, her apartment, even her mom's house." Did the police ever get the guy?" I asked, wiping my sweaty palms on my jeans. She rolled her eyes. Stalking laws were trash in the early 2000s, and she died. My heartbeat accelerated like a roller coaster. He killed her? Not exactly, Leona said sadly. She had a brain aneurysm, a genetic thing. But I'm pretty sure the stress of the situation didn't make it better. Oh, I'm sorry, I told Leona. I didn't know what else to say. You ever hear the urban legend where it seemed inappropriate? We sat in silence for a moment, sipping out coffees. There was an arcade in that building once too, Leona said finally. I frowned. You knew Wham Arcade? Yeah, Wham Arcade, that's what it was called. The kids I babysat were obsessed. I'd always end up getting roped into losing a game to the little boy David, the owner's son. The kid with the curly red hair? I asked, cringing involuntarily at the memory. Yep, he was a real-life arcade wizard, she said. I never saw him lose a game. I'm glad he had something, though. Poor little guy. What do you mean? She eyed me like I was the most oblivious person in the world. John, you seriously didn't notice? I was 10 and I picked up on it. Picked up on what? An uncomfortable sourness curdled in my veins. He was skinny, like malnourished skinny, and there were always bruises all over him. I hadn't looked at my Reddit post in weeks. After my coffee with Leona, though, I had an irresistible impulse to check in and see if any other Redditors had chimed in with added perspective. Because I didn't know. I couldn't say the words, not even to myself. I'm a nearly 40-year-old adult and father. I'm not a nervous kid. Reddit, though? Reddit delivered. Oh, did it ever deliver. First user, Boylan Bass 3500, had done some research. He gave us all the full history of the old Wolfgang's dry goods building. Construction was begun in 1912 and finished in 1913, he wrote. Wolfgang Stout, the original owner, ran a dry goods store there until his death in 1928. His son took over the business, but it went under during the Great Depression, and the building remained an empty, poorly maintained bank property until it was purchased by Bluebell Properties United in 1940 and leased to a Walgreens drugstore. The Walgreens closed in 1974. The building housed a disco club for a short time, then a men's clothing store. From 1983 to 1993, Wham Arcade occupied the storefront. After the arcade was unexpectedly abandoned, a series of businesses opened and closed in the spot. Laura's Boutique, 1995 to 1996. Chip and Scratch Records, 1997 to 1999. The Bar on the Tracks, 1999 to 2002. Toddy's Beantown, 2002 to 2004. Lowe and Ludwig Coffee, 2004 to 2005. Hamadi Kebabs, 2005 to 2010. Amato Pizzeria, 2010 to 2011. The Grey Cat Tea Room, 2011 to 2012. Big Time Natural Foods, 2012 to 2013. Larson's Market, 2013 to 2015. The Dog Place, 2015 to 2016. Black Rain Bakery, 2016 to 2017. Bubbles Tavern, 2017 to 2018. The Acai Lover, 2018 to 2019. The Nut House, 2019 to 2020. Kawaii Boba, 2020 to 2021. Just Grilled, 2021 to 2022. And Gino's Gyros, 2022 to 2023. I counted 23 businesses in total. Since 2010, only one lasted longer than a year. That was a lot. Even in the fickle, high-risk, high-reward city entrepreneurial scene, that was a lot. After that, Redditors posted a series of urban legends, different now from the first few I'd read. These urban legends didn't take place in an unspecified locale far away. Each and every one centered on the old Wolfgang's dry goods building and the 23 businesses that had operated and failed there. User, I call it the Flying Sausage. Oh crap, not that place. My dumbass friend dated a girl whose brother worked at the grilled cheese shop. The brother told her the building had been built on top of ancient Native American graveyard. He swore ghostly Native American warriors were chasing him around the city. User, Turbo Gerbil 1925. This hippie chick my ex-boyfriend used to smoke weed with told him it was built on a fairy circle. Apparently her boss pissed off the other side. I think she worked there until it was a natural food store. Anyways, the boss had some sort of a mental breakdown. I think he ended up dying. User, runner in the night 42. Lol, what? You know a serial killer used to be a cook at the pizza joint, right? He'd lure chicks to the basement and seal their bodies up in the walls. User, Lolo Panda. I heard the woman who ran the Grey Cat tea room was a witch. When her business failed during the recession, she put a curse on the store. That's why no business ever succeeds there for longer than 2 years. User, AddictCat1290. This is a throwaway. Can you DM me? I think we should talk in person. I didn't know what to make of all these accounts, or how they related to me, or the voice, or the cockroaches I kept spotting, or Leona's victimized coffee shop co-worker, or little red-haired David, the arcade owner's son. So I ignored AddictCat1290's request. I turned off my computer. I went to CVS and invested in a can of Raid. Long past midnight, I jerked awake. I felt something small and itchy brush against my leg. Or maybe my eyes snapped open because my spidey senses alerted me I wasn't alone. Through my bedroom window, the city lights cast a pale, silvery column across the floor. A small, fast-moving blotch jutted into the light, then disappeared in the darkness. I sat up in bed and reached for my light. Wispy, disorganized legs skittered across my hand. I jerked back as I pulled the chain. My room was coated in cockroaches. Hundreds of cockroaches. Cockroaches clustering in the windows, up the walls, stacked in corners. Thousands of tiny legs sprinting across the floor. Quivering feelers, flitting wings. Cockroaches piling on top of each other and mating and fighting and scaling the walls and skittering across the ceiling. I closed my eyes and screamed. I screamed until I couldn't breathe. I opened my eyes, panting and gasping for air. The cockroaches were gone. Then the voices started. There were many of them now. Male and female, guttural and nasal, vicious whispers and mocking taunts. How did you get so fat, John? You're a slightly better father than you are a businessman, but that bar is practically on the floor. Your face looks like a French bulldog crossed with a rat. You're such a loser. Do you fully comprehend how embarrassed your parents are to have spawned you? Thank God your brother's successful, or they'd probably kill themselves in shame. Your ex-wife is better off without you. Your kids are better off without you. I couldn't take it anymore. I stood up, threw on jeans and a sweatshirt, grabbed my laptop, and ran into my apartment. If you want us to go away, a sing-song female voice cajoled. You know where to find us. I took refuge in a 24-hour diner. Kylie had sent me a message. Went to see the potential location by the river, she typed. The plumbing doesn't work. Surprise. You'll never guess how much money this low-life property manager had the absolute gall to quote me. Let's talk more about the place you saw tomorrow. I'll deal with the noisy train so long as the toilet's flush. She was warming up to the old Wolfgang's dry goods building. The place where 23 businesses failed. The cursed location, claimed by fairies and ghostly Native American warriors, where a serial killer buried dead girls in the basement walls. I logged on to Reddit and messaged AddictCat1290. I asked when and where she wanted to meet. AddictCat1290. Claudia. Met me at a hipsterish coffee shop. Claudia was a bony blonde in her mid-30s, a bank assistant manager. She had a prominent nose and wide-set eyes, and her skin wrinkled in a way that gave the impression of rapid recent weight loss. She picked at her nails as we spoke, her eyes darting to and fro. You think the old Wolfgang's dry goods building is haunted? I said. She pursed her lips. I don't know. Haunted might be the wrong word. I'd say it chose me. The place chooses people. I nodded. I used to walk by the building on my way to the train, she explained. Back when the grilled cheese shop was there. I'd stop for a coffee and a breakfast sandwich a couple times a week. I got friendly with this young guy who worked there, a kid named Sam. We'd talk about TV shows and baseball. Well, one day Sam disappeared. His coworker told me he'd had a mental breakdown. I felt sad, but there wasn't much I could do. It's not like we were besties. Something tugged unpleasantly on my id. My dumbass friend dated a girl whose brother worked at the grilled cheese shop. The Reddit thread. The guy who'd been chased by ghost warriors. I kept on going to the grilled cheese place, and then when it shut down, the gyro place. Claudia continued. I can't explain what happened. Just, I've always been nervous about doctors and hospitals and medical stuff. I had allergies when I was a kid. I was poked so many times I developed a lifelong fear of needles. But that all happened years ago, and I thought I'd gotten over it. She took a deep breath. Suddenly, one day I started seeing these people in white scrubs with caps and masks, standing there on a street corner or subway platform staring at me, sometimes holding a cartoonishly huge syringe with a giant needle. No one else could see them but me. At first they kept their distance. Then one appeared in an elevator, and then I woke up to a giant man in scrubs standing over my bed. I trembled. Goosebumps rose on my arms. "I see cockroaches," I told her. She raised her eyebrows. "Are you scared of bugs?" "Not exactly." I took a deep breath. "I used to co-own a restaurant, Diego's Hideout. Mexican fusion." Claudia looked confused. I decided to not feel offended she never heard of my restaurant. She'd been honest with me, I could be honest with her. We were successful. Ridiculously successful. A couple people complained they'd seen roaches in the dining room, but I didn't think it was an immediate problem. It was a city in the summer. There's roaches everywhere. Then one morning I walked into the kitchen, and the entire place was crawling with cockroaches. They were all over the floor and walls and the dishes in the sink. My body twitched. Words couldn't do justice to the physical, icky sensation of watching those legs and feelers and crusty wings writhe and clutter. "We had to shut down for 2 weeks, I continued. Word got out why, and we never recovered. Turns out no one wants to eat at the Roach restaurant. We went bankrupt 4 months later. Oh, and to make things even better, I'd just taken out a mortgage I could no longer afford, and my wife and I lost the house. She left me. I started drinking while the sun was still up, and now I'm seeing roaches everywhere and hearing psycho, disembodied voices." Claudia stared at me, considering. "They wanted me to go back," she said finally, firmly. "The creepy figures in scrubs wanted me to return to the building, the gyro place, and then go down to the basement. I didn't want to do it. The gyro place shut down, and I didn't want to be hanging around an abandoned storefront. But they wouldn't stop. The doctors and nurses with masks and syringe, they were everywhere, and my job in my apartment. So I did it." Her eyes flickered in remembrance. I suddenly thought of the wooden door in the kitchen, the Art Deco piece politely inquiring after a password. "There was an arcade in the basement," Claudia said. It took me a second to process her words. "An arcade? The whole building used to be an arcade." "Yeah, well, apparently they left the games in the basement. All these old 80s style machines. I could only get one to work. A fighter game, like Mortal Kombat. The gist was you played an adventurer battling it out with Native American spirit guardians to find a buried treasure in an old graveyard. It was actually really racist, and I lost in about 2 seconds. As soon as I lost, though, it was over." "Like, you stopped hallucinating?" I cut in, suddenly caught up in a wave of hope. She sighed. "Yeah, but it might be more complicated. Because that kid I talked about, Sam, the sandwich shop guy who had a mental breakdown, I learned later that he died. I couldn't pick the lock on the old Wolfgang's dry goods building while it was still light out. No way that wouldn't get me a free night in a jail cell. So I waited until 4 in the morning, chugging Red Bull at the deli until the last of the bar patrons stumbled to the subway, leaving me alone on the street. If the nameless spirits of the Wolfgang's dry goods building wanted me to play the video games in the basement arcade, then video games I would play. The lock snapped open in seconds. I found my way through the abandoned restaurant with a flashlight on my phone. Steeped in darkness, the once welcoming atmosphere had become gloomy and imposing. The wood-paneled walls trapped the blackness. The geometric Art Deco carvings threw jarring shadows. I wandered into the kitchen, up to the little wooden door between the fridge and freezer. I tried the greenish metallic knob. It didn't so much as jiggle. The door was locked. Locked, it appeared, from the inside. I stared into the placard. Password. The basement where Wolfgang Stout kept his bootlegged alcohol, where apparently the arcade's owner had stashed his collection of consoles. I recalled Wham Arcade closed suddenly, no warning, just a chain on the door one morning. The poor little boy, Leona said. Little David, the kid with curly red hair. Password. Good game, I said to the door. There was a snap, then a creak. The door popped open. I pulled it wide and found myself staring down a set of wooden stairs. I smelled stale popcorn and sticky sweet spilled soda. As I climbed carefully down the stairs, I heard metallic trills and jaunty computerized music. Bright lights flashed, multicolored, against the walls. And then I was there. It was just as Claudia said it would be, just as Wham Arcade once had been. Rows of giant computer consoles with dancing graphics and greasy joysticks. The first game I came to was called Nephilim. It looked like a fighter game, the sides decorated with disturbing images of eye-covered men and goat-headed women. Next to Nephilim sat Speakeasy, a shooter game, prohibition-themed. You had to fire at hat and suspenders wearing thugs coming to steal your stash. Across the room, a pastel-colored Pac-Man-esque game, Escape from the Zoo. Instead of Pac-Man ghosts, you got chased by blue tigers and purple monkeys. I didn't question how the flashing lights and dancing graphics were even possible, as the electricity in the building had been shut off for months. I walked down the rows, passing Fairy Quest and the Grey Witch's Cat, and an extremely kid-inappropriate and generally problematic game called Rear Window, in which you had to stalk a girl through a series of obstacles. Then Homicide 911, where you were tasked with picking up enough clues to jail a serial killer before he murdered again. Beside that, I spotted Graves of Our Ancestors, decorated with moderately offensive Native American imagery. I guessed this was the game Claudia had played. I pressed buttons and looked for coin slots, but the only game that worked properly, the only one I was allowed to play, was a game furthest from the door on the right. Hospital Nightmares, it was called. According to the graphics, it worked a bit like Frogger. I needed to avoid mad scientists trying to inject me with serum. As soon as I grasped the joystick, my hands began to sweat. I felt my heart pounding in my ears as the bouncy music swelled. I shook as I tried to remember which button did what. People are staring. I'm gonna fail. Just like I always fail. A melancholy trill from the game. Fatality, a computerized voice croaked. I stepped back, watched my pathetic avatar collapse to the ground while a ghoulish doctor laughed maniacally. There was peace in failure. Now, I can go back to my room and play Super Mario Bros. To my heart's content. I don't remember leaving the basement arcade, or taking zigzagging trains home, or collapsing into bed. The next day I awoke past noon from the best sleep of my life. I didn't see any more cockroaches or hear the voices. I worked a shift, then made plans with Kylie, then went to an AA meeting. I texted Claudia a couple of times. I told her she was right. An operating arcade had been squatting in the old Wolfgang's dry goods building basement. For days, she ignored me. Then today, someone texted back. Claudia's sister. She told me Claudia was dead. Sudden cardiac death. A heart attack in her sleep. Secondary to some structural problem she hadn't known she had. I offered the sister my condolences. I said I'd only known her for a short time, but Claudia was there for me when I needed honesty and direction, and for that I'd eternally be thankful. I tried really hard not to think about the fact that she died the exact same night I'd broken into the old Wolfgang's dry goods building and gone down to the arcade in the basement. Or that her time of death was uncomfortably close to the time I must have lost miserably at the Hospital Nightmares game. Alright, so, not sure what to say here. This is Jose, John's brother. I found this account on my brother's computer. If you're reading this, I'm really sorry to break it to you. But John passed away 3 weeks ago. We're still waiting on autopsy results, but we think it was an aortic aneurysm rupture. I'm tempted to say my brother must have been losing it, that he was suffering from either an undiagnosed mental condition or a brain tumor. But his Reddit post is still up. And I don't know. This is all too weird for me. Basically, I see the situation as John saw it. As thus. The old Wolfgang's dry goods building is haunted by a supernatural entity. This entity chooses people. It latches onto them, stalks them, casts horrific hallucinations, plays off their fears and insecurities. It lures them in, then leads them along a breadcrumb trail to the arcade in the basement. Here's where it gets tricky. The quarry, my brother John or Claudia before him, plays one game. What they're playing for is the life of the previous quarry, against a game based on the previous quarry's specific narrative and hallucinations. Claudia lost her game, so Sam the Sandwich Guy died. John lost his game, the game with the killer hospital and insane doctors, and Claudia died. Following this logic, I'm left to assume the building claimed another quarry after John. That new quarry found their way to the basement where they played a game against, a giant cockroach or something. They lost the game, then John died. It's the stuff of fairy tales. An entity that collects people, takes possession of their fears and their stories and keeps them locked in a basement in the form of 90s-style arcade games. I'd say it's all a stupid urban legend. Except, the old Wolfgang's dry goods building is gone. It caught on fire, accidentally or intentionally, no one is sure, and no one particularly cares. And by the time the firefighters got there, the building was beyond saving. There were no old arcade games found in the basement. The basement was empty. However, the crew cleaning up the debris made a gruesome discovery sealed into the basement walls. A small corpse. The remains of a 5 to 7-year-old child, shoved into the insulation and plastered over, hidden away for years and forgotten. The child's cause of death was likely related to a giant crack in the skull. A DNA test revealed the dead kid to be David M. It's suspected he died at the hands of his father, Wayne M., who owned the Wham arcade in the 80s and 90s. And that was The Old Wolfgang's Dry Goods Building is Gone by Nikki XX. This story is it's so good. It's so good. It's got all kinds of interesting little pieces that kind of tell you even more. There's all these weird urban legend elements that tie it together in a variety of different timelines and scenarios, which are all still weirdly similar. It's so good. It's so good. Weirdly, immediately made me think of the movie Poltergeist. If I'm being completely honest, it's definitely not entirely the same. That is for sure. Obviously, that there are big differences, but it's with the fact that it's like the spirit. I guess Monster House as well is a decent example. But so I think the important question really here is David. So David is this tortured child, even when he was alive. It sounds like. I mean, abused, tortured, however you want to define it, and it's sad. It's sad, it's tragic, and I think some of the real big questions I have about it. So he's haunting the place in some weird way based on the things that he knows, which is why everything comes in the form of an arcade game. Which determines what happens to the person he is previously haunted. But from our understanding, whenever the new victim loses that arcade game, the previous victim dies. But what if they won? I wonder if they won, if the cycle would still end, but they didn't die. But I think the problem is, David's not going to be like a normal spirit, right? I don't think he's going to move on to an afterlife because somebody wins an arcade game. I think ultimately he's going to be in this endless purgatory cycle, which is tragic. It's fucking tragic. And I think even if they win, the cycle will continue. I think it's never ending, right? It's torture for David, and sadly he has to pass that torture on. Because he himself is stuck in like a loop, is how I believe it. It's almost like he is the building itself, but not in its entirety, mostly just possessing the basement where he was buried in the walls. It's so dark. It's so dark. It's so good. Sorry, there's a little thing on the lens. And I mean, I feel for him. It just irks, and it's horrifying, and the details are good. There's so much good in the story. There's so much freaking good in the story. And I love the fact that even at the end, it turns out we get the little final piece from John's brother, Jose, telling us that John has died. It's all well thought out. It's all well executed. It's sad. But then also the next question is, well, now that the building is burned down, is it over? Is it over? I certainly hope David finds peace. I'll tell you that much. It's sad. It's freaking sad. It's beautiful. It's amazing. I'll tell you that. I really love the story. Yet again, the ones that I said it may reminded me of Poltergeist. Great movie. And it's only because of the somewhat similarities when the boy is taken into the ghost realm, or I guess afterlife, or whatever, however you define it. And you can kind of hear his voice around the house, and he's not exactly a poltergeist himself, but he has like a level of ghostly aptitude going on, which kind of made me think of that. The other thing is Monster House, because yet again, it's somebody basically, the wife dies in the movie. I'm so sorry you didn't know that, but you don't even know she's in the fucking film for half of it, so not really a spoiler. And it's a great movie, by the way, Monster House. I thought it was really good. And sadly, so she's been dead pretty much the entire time that we've known her. She dies in the foundations of the house, and she ends up being the house. She is the monster house, right? So it's cool. Those are really the only parallels I kind of drew and kind of thought of. Yeah, nothing else really immediately came to mind, if I'm completely honest with you. Bit of a shame, but not really, because this story's it's just good. It's just good in and of itself, and I've truly enjoyed it. I look like I'm looking like I'm talking to somebody else instead of the camera, which is just right here, right. Got that weird autofocus going on. It's because I have to use my phone, because I do have a backup camera here in the States, because my main camera has sadly died. So it's a bit of a shame. The cable's broken. Can't do anything about it. I mean, I'm sure technically I could, but fuck that. It's a lot of work, and I could fuck it up. It's an expensive camera. I don't want to do that. I'll inevitably get it fixed, but it's not on the top of the priority list. I have alternatives, and the quality of this is good. If anything, ooh, I can do spooky cool effects like that. I can also show you cat prison. You ready for this? See that? See? Do you see that? That's our solution to make sure the cats don't fuck with each other, which we've called cat prison. So you can get a little cat flap door, right there. Right. Oh, it's hard to. Right at the bottom there. You see a square? See a square? But it locks. So it's not like they could just freely go through it. We have to choose for them to do it. But if anything, we don't. We just don't. It's good. It's good gate. It does a very good job. None of them have tried to get over it. It's fantastic. They can still see each other, which is acceptable. It's acceptable behavior. We need them to know they exist and shit. You know, we don't want them to fight with each other. So yeah, cat prison is where my office is. Love it. Is that a thumbnail or what? Maybe can I get it to focus on that? I don't know if I can. Maybe if I manually focus. I'm wasting time. I'm sorry. I've been Nate tonight. I've had a fantastic time, and I sure hope you have too. We will see you for whatever's next. Care out there. Shout out to these cool peeps. Seriously, we wouldn't have got this far without them. You're all amazing. I love you all so much. Honestly, it's tremendous work you do. Supporting the channel, keeping us afloat. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. You too could become a cool peep for just $1 a month. What that's going to get you is 2 weeks early access to future videos. It's also going to get you exclusive members-only content. And there might be extra goodies coming along the way. What can I say? I'm just charitable like that. Or you can become super cool. Now that's $5 a month, but what you're going to get out of that is all the perks from the previous tier, plus also 10% discount on future merchandise, and also access to my private Discord server with a fantastic little community that we have, where I plan on hosting monthly movie nights and also weekly casual hangouts. You can also show your support by tipping through either Super Chats, Super Thanks, both on YouTube, or through my streamlabs.com URL, which will be in the description of future videos below. Cheers for now, guys!